5 in Council Chambers, Sparta Township Municipal Building, 65 Main Street, Sparta, New Jersey. The time is 7:21. There was a town council session that was opened at 6 and then was adjourned. The regular meeting was opened at, again, 7:21. All council meetings are now live streamed and can be viewed at the following link, www.youtube.com/SpartaTWP/streams. Adequate notice of this meeting was provided to the public and press on January 10th, 2025, by delivering to the press and posting on the township website a copy of the notice. Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call?
Councilman Scott.
Yes.
Councilman Blumetti.
Yes.
Councilman Chiarello.
I'm present.
Deputy Mayor Murphy.
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Here. Please rise to salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we have no minutes this meeting, and that will mean we go right into the manager's report. Manager Zepp, could you please present your report?
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Council, and Sparta residents. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Good New Year.
Thank you.
That was weak.
Yeah, sorry about it. The free rabies clinic for dogs and cats had to be rescheduled to January 25th due to weather events that occurred and our Public Works facility having to be used for that purpose this past Saturday. The clinic starts at 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock for dogs and 3 o'clock to 4 o'clock for cats. Our Public Works Department started picking up Christmas trees at curbside on January 2nd. The trees must be put out at the curb no later than January 20th at 7 a.m. for final pickup. Our tax collector wanted to remind the public that the 2025 solid waste bills were mailed out today and that the bill may be paid in full or can be paid quarterly if you prefer. Please note there's an increase in the annual fee this year. The Recreation and Parks Department are preparing for the Winter Carnival scheduled for Saturday, February 1st at the Sparta Middle School, starting at 1 p.m. Winter program activity brochure is now available on the website and at the Recreation Office. Registration for winter programs begins tomorrow, December 11th. Oh, not December 11th, January 11th. Typo. The Sparta seniors enjoyed the New Year's Eve party held on December 30th with 80 participants in attendance. We would like to thank the several members of the Sparta High School Key Club who volunteered at the event. Chief McCarrick will now read his portion of the manager's report. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Manager Zepp. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council. First, I would like to welcome on behalf of the Police Department, our newest council members, Councilman Scott, excuse me, and Deputy Mayor Murphy. We look forward to working with you and continue to work with the rest of the council. We appreciate your support, and we're here for whatever you need for us.
Thank you.
Also like to welcome Mr. Dash. Look forward to working with you also.
Thank you.
The police department has recently purchased 6 ice water rescue suits and equipment kits. With this equipment, it will allow officers to train in using the equipment and safely perform ice water rescues. As you may have seen recently in the media, there have been several operations throughout the state with these type of rescues, whether it was a human or a domestic animal. With the many bodies of water amongst our township, I want to ensure that our officers have as many as possible we have with this training to perform these proper rescue techniques. Some of the burglary concerns recently in Sparta Township. During the holiday season, our township has endured several unfortunate residential home burglaries, and our officers take these incidents very seriously and understand the effects that they have on the victims and the overall community. So some of the things that we are doing as a department, we have obviously active patrols in the neighborhoods. You're going to see our cars out there, and we're going to activate and be very active with motor vehicle enforcement. And why is that? Is because people who may think about committing a crime, it may deter them from doing so when they see us out there, obviously. We have overlapping shifts, so we have patrols, we have cars on the roads at all times. We're meeting with the communities. I had a recent meeting last night with a community. A lot of members came out, and we had some great dialogue. We're going to be posting, as we often do, safety tips on our social media and our website, so obviously keep up on that. Keeping up on our equipment and technology, something that's very important. We want to make sure that we're equipped with the best capabilities to not only deter crime, but obviously to investigate crime when it happens. We have obviously conducting meaningful and thorough investigations. Our Detective Bureau is obviously currently involved with many investigations, and they'll continue to do so. Networking with our law enforcement partners is ever so important. We make sure that we understand and put our information out there to our partners so that they could see some of the things that we're dealing with, and they may have specific trends that they're dealing with too, that it could be in connection with our cases. Some of the things the state, you see there's enhanced penalties for burglary, making a burglary now from a third degree to a second degree crime. And if it's a home invasion, it moves it from a second degree crime now to a first degree crime. So even the state is seeing the effects on this and taking action. And I would like to encourage anyone out there in our township, if they would like to register with our camera system. And there's a link on our website, and what that is, you put in your information stating that you have cameras. We keep track of it. We do not have a live feed to your camera, but what we could do is if we have some type of crime in the vicinity, we look where we may have cameras, and we'll be able to contact that person either quicker rather than getting boots on the ground and wasting time. So I encourage everybody to do that. And what we encourage residents to do is obviously to be vigilant out there. You have to know your neighbors. Good, bad, and different, know who they are, what they're driving, what car should be there, talk to them, have good relationships with them. If you hear something, see something, call us immediately. Don't tell us 2 days later, I saw a suspicious car in my neighborhood. Can you follow up on it? Obviously, we'll take that. We'll take that, whatever information we can, but time is very pertinent to get that information to us so we could try to intercept. If you're going away, don't post things on social media. Don't post pictures out in Aruba or something that you're away and let everybody know. Don't come to a council meeting here in public and say that you're going to be away for 3 months and give your address. It's not something that you want to put out there. All right. Again, have your neighbors, your friends and family check your house if you're away, and then we also offer vacant property checks from our police department on our website. There's a link. You go on, fill out your information when you're going to be away, when you're coming back. Let us know what vehicle is going to be there, basic information, and an officer will come check your house once per day, call volume permitting, to ensure that everything is okay. We get out, we check the doors, look at the windows, make sure things seem all in order. And alarms, put your alarms on, check your alarms, meet with your alarm company, make sure things are up to date. A lot of times we've had incidents where people thought they had an alarm, they didn't. It wasn't going anywhere. They weren't paying their bill. So you got to make sure that you're up to date on those things. And the same thing with cameras. Check your camera systems. Make sure that they're operating. If they're hardwired, make sure they're working, they're downloading. If you have trail cameras or whatever, check the batteries, check the storage. If you have subscriptions, make sure that they're up to date on payment and everything like that. And of course, if you have any questions about any of that stuff, my email's on the website. Please contact me. Phase 2 of our crash report, I know I talked about this. It is completed. It will be posted tomorrow on our website. The results of the study are from the same time period, January 1, 2021 to June 15, 2024, same as the first phase of the study. Just to be up front with this, when comparing the first study to the second study, we noted a couple different things, and I'll explain why. Specifically with phase 2 of the study, when we looked at the actual cause of the crash, we actually go into the actual report. It's called the NJTR1 report. And some of the reported crashes did not result in an actual NJTR1 report from the first study. And so some of the things that could happen with that is oftentimes somebody will call up and say, hey, we just witnessed a motor vehicle accident crash, North Village. Our officers go out there, there is nobody there. There's no, whoever parties were involved, they're gone. Maybe there was no damage, they handled it on their own. But that was reported, and it's reported as a motor vehicle accident, so it's reported as such in phase 1 of the study, but it doesn't have an actual report, so there is no cause, which is part of the phase 2 study. Other things are, a lot of times we border a lot of different towns. As you know, with our large area here, we could get sent to the area of, let's say, Route 15 North at the Lafayette border. The crash may have occurred in Lafayette. We respond, but we don't actually do the accident because it's not in our jurisdiction. It would be state police. So it's still a response, which is, again, phase one of the study. Other things are, they could be motor vehicle incidents as opposed to a motor vehicle crash. The difference is the amount of damage. There could be no damage. We get there, it's reported as an accident, but it's actually just an incident and reported as such. So I will explain that in a letter on our website on how that works. Secondly, in the second phase of the study, we looked at private property. So some crashes, a lot of crashes were reported on private properties, such as parking lots, schools, so on and so forth. With the first reporting, it was reported as a roadway. So let's say if we had an incident, a motor vehicle crash at Sparta High School. In phase one, it was reported as West Mountain Road. In phase two, it reported as the actual private property there. So that would be a little bit different. So you'll see the numbers, all the actual numbers of incidents that we have taken are accounted for, and you could see. So in this study, you're going to see many different things. You're going to see a cause to an accident. You're going to see age groups, and you're going to see obviously where they actually occurred. So the number one cause for a crash in Sparta Township from 2021, January 1, 2021 to, I think I said June 15th of 24 is following too closely. And that has 465 motor vehicle crashes. So the second highest cause are animals on the roadway with 346. So quite a bit, you're seeing our area, our wooded areas, animals coming out, deer, bear, birds, turkeys, and then obviously the following too closely, they're usually rear end, same direction accidents. The top three fail to yield the right of way, backing unsafely, unsafe speed, driver inattention, failure to keep right, improper parking. You're going to see that in a lot of, parking lots, obviously, private property, improper turning, and then there's this unknown, which would be constitute for hit and runs. So if we have a hit and run, it gets marked down as unknown cause there. So all this information is going to be on our website tomorrow. And if anybody has any questions, they could contact me. I would really like to give a shout out to Sergeant Richard Smith, who's our Traffic Bureau Sergeant, put a lot of time and effort, and all the officers that worked on this. It is a very tedious task to go in and analyze this, and I appreciate their attention to detail and work there. And lastly, last year we did our first yearly report. We are currently working on that now. It's going to be detailed just as it was last year, and I'm hoping that our team will have this completed sometime in March for the public to view. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chief McCarrick, and please send our thank you to Officer Smith and to all your staff, and you included, for putting together the phase two of that report. I know a lot of work was put into that, and it's very helpful and informative, I think, to what the council, any issues that we may arise, I'm sure that we can refer to that. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Second, you alluded, and also thank you for informing the public of what they can do to protect themselves against theft and burglary, particularly when they leave. That I find that very helpful. One thing that you see sometimes is when there's been an issue like burglary, the public will say, well, what investigation are they actually doing? Is there a reason why it makes prudent police sense not to divulge all the ins and outs of your investigation?
Obvious, for obvious reasons, I shouldn't say obvious, but obvious to me. When we're conducting an investigation, we want to get accurate information in and out. So we don't want anything to hamper our investigation. If we talk about all the specific details that we're doing, it's going to basically give up in our leads, maybe tip people off of what we're doing. And then, future investigations could be also compromised from that. So we don't give that information out. I can assure you 100% that the detectives and our officers that work on these cases are working very, very diligently on all the investigations, not just these current ones, so.
Okay, thank you. And this may be beyond your expertise, and I apologize for sort of throwing a question at you sort of out of the blue, but it kind of occurred to me when you identified that following too closely was the number one cause of accidents. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay. Following too closely, does that tend to happen more often in areas where there's high traffic?
Yes.
Okay, so would more traffic theoretically lead to more of these accidents?
I couldn't
Couldn't
give
tell
you
me, but-
a specific yes or no on that. From the data, it would appear so. Most of our crashes occur in the northbound section of Route 15. The time period escapes me, but I know it was a heavier time during traffic. I want to say that 3-4 o'clock range. You see the traffic back up at that time. I know it does throughout the day too, but that's when we're seeing the most of it. That's where most of these crashes are occurring.
Okay, well, thank you very much. Unless anyone else has any other questions for
Yeah, but
Chief
quick-
Carrick.
Quick question. Thank you, Chief. I can't wait to see this. This is great, great work. I'm curious, does the data show distracted driving? Is that part of the
Yes.
reporting and, texting and all that? And
Yeah, so every single crash that's involved here, and I believe it was 2,150 crashes for that time period, I believe. We have a cause for every single one of them, and that's what takes so long to actually go into the report and look at the causes that are listed from the officers during the report. So you're going to see, and the ones that I gave you were like the top 10
okay,
that were in there. Distracted driving is one of them. It's a tough thing to prove. Some people will admit I was on my cell phone, I wasn't paying attention, I was changing the radio, I was, believe it or not, yelling at the kids, things that, it is distracting. Eating, distractions, dogs sitting on your lap, obstruction, distraction, things of that nature.
okay, good. Thanks, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Okay, with that, unless anyone else has any questions, may I have a motion to accept the manager's report?
I move to, second.
All right, and we have a second by Councilman Blumetti. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, manager's report has been accepted. Now we have our first public agenda open to the public session. This is for items that are not on the agenda. So if you have an item that you see on the agenda that you want to talk about, now's not the time. This is for an item that is not on the agenda.
Before we proceed with that, Mayor Clark, if I may, it was the opinion of our previous legal counsel that the time limit, the public time limit, needs to be renewed every year. And we have not done that this year, so I don't know if that time limit would apply today and if the council wishes to take up that matter.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I think that at this time, my understanding that the 5-minute limit was done by resolution, and resolutions expire at the end of the term. And so I think council someone would have to make a motion to have a 5-minute limit, and then for 2025.
But that would apply starting the next, because we wouldn't have had the resolution yet.
Yeah, okay, so I think
Applies to
that.
today.
Yeah, so today, there is no 5-minute time limit because but I would, please remember, we're trying to conduct action. We have, people in the audience, so say your piece, but please don't filibuster. Thank you. Not saying you, I'm just saying the public. Yeah, go ahead.
Have no fear. Okay, so I just wanted to congratulate.
And state your name and address for
Oh,
the
you want
record.
me, I don't do this?
No, you just
No.
state who you are and where you live.
Okay, so my name is Christine Dunbar. I live at 101 Wagon Wheel Road, Sparta, New Jersey, 07871.
mother's maiden name and social security number?
Let me see, I have that somewhere.
Please don't say that. please.
Okay, very good. So anyway, as I began, I just want to congratulate the new board and wish you a very good year.
Thank you.
So I would like to respectfully request that the Environmental Commission liaison to the Planning Board have their vote status restored as soon as it is practically possible. The Sparta EC is your number one go-to for responsible and sustainable development decision-making. The Environmental Commission utilizes the latest environmental mapping technologies such as the Highlands Council Interactive Map and highly recommended and comprehensive statewide New Jersey Conservation Blueprint, which is recommended by ANJEC, which is the Association of New Jersey Environmental Commissions, in which Sparta is a recognized and active member. This application, I'm referring to the New Jersey Conservation Blueprint, also provides the necessary regional perspective to determine which parcels need our protection the most. Many Sparta Environmental Commission members are experts working in the field of environmental science and sustainability. I'm sure you know this. They, as residents of Sparta, are best able to guide the development of Sparta towards a greener, safer, and healthier future that provides a balance and protects our natural resources. While as an EC member, I do appreciate a voice, what we have been given falls way short of having an actual liaison vote. So I respectfully ask that to ensure green, sustainable, and balanced development application decisions, that you consider reinstating the EC liaison vote at planning board meetings. I know that the open space and recreation survey, and can imagine that the master plan surveys are both showing us that a greener, preserved rural landscape is what our residents want and do deserve. The EC has been and will continue to be helpful in providing the evidence needed for environmentally based decision-making on the planning board. So the more votes from us, the better, and we will be meeting the needs of residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to be heard on items not on the agenda?
Jenny Derrick's happened to Sparta. Just a quick question. With the turn of the year, January 1 signaled an end to the unfettered short-term rentals. Do we have any update on that? And how's it going? Is there going to be, I just did a quick look on VRBO and Airbnb and saw a whole page of properties available for Sparta. So I don't know if there's any kind of, I guess what I'm asking, is there going to be any kind of inquiry on that or any kind of enforcement to the ordinance that you passed last year?
I would think it would be the intent of council to enforce that ordinance. I know that we're not privy to what the staff is doing to the applications and the enforcement of that. I don't know if Manager Zepp that you know.
Well, Roxanne, the clerk, would be the intake on permits and stuff. And with the new ordinance taking effect January 1st, as Jenny had mentioned, it's coincidental that Roxanne and I, we discuss stuff like this, and it's been relatively quiet as far as permits because we have the 28-day limitation. As far as enforcement goes, well, I would have to speak to our code enforcer. He hasn't brought the topic up to me about, any violations being brought to our attention. as you can imagine, it would take quite amount of staff resources to proactively go into the social media and survey potential violations. We haven't gotten to that point. It would require further council discussion.
Mayor, we haven't had any applications either. There have been no applications, none, to date.
Okay, I think that, council should discuss and maybe not here, but I think that we do probably need to, we do need to ensure that, that the short-term rentals that are being offered in Sparta are identifying the time limitation that is allowed under the ordinance, which, correct me if I'm wrong, was 28 days or more, not.
Correct.
And so that the
Not
terms
less
that, when they're advertising that, should say that the property is only available for a rental for 28 days or more. And so we need to, and I think we built that into the ordinance about our ability to investigate that, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, good idea.
Yes, sir, just state your name and address.
Hi, my name is Dr. Ernest Leibov. My address is 143 Wagonville Road, naturally in Sparta. And I did not attend your meetings over a year, which shows that I don't have obsessive compulsive disorder to attend every meeting. I would like to address a couple issues. First of all, Happy New Year and congratulations with your new term, new cadence, particularly new members. I would like to start with the compliments. Today I had a pleasure to use service of accessor department, and I was very impressed how fast and efficient was behavior and performance of accessor. Usually we hear about bureaucrats, a lot of bad things, and now it was very pleasant disappointment. Now about less pleasant things. Number one, as you know, we have a beginning epidemic of intestinal flu. This is a flu which doesn't have vaccine and most often happen due to poor hygiene, general hygiene. I would like to address that our public restaurants, cafe shops, they don't use the newest methods of the cleaning. They use, 100-year-old brushes, and they don't understand that when they use brushes, it brings dust in the air, which goes to the food or on the table, and this is increasing public dangerousness of the for health of our county. I particularly would like to bring a sample, our beautiful classical diner, where I'm frequent flyer attendant, and I address to the management that, you would better buy wireless Dyson vacuum cleaner. It's very cheap and it doesn't require to use all this brush. And manager told me that he addresses many times to the owner, but he had hearing problem and that doesn't buy hearing aid probably equipment and doesn't react on that. The another issue which I would like to share with you again is not for myself, it is for public. If you go to any restaurant, any cafe shop in our township, county, you would find so-called sugar substitute. This is a very dangerous stuff, which was found in all medical literature as a cancerogenic stuff. Of course, people like something tasty, sweet, and there is some sweetener which produced in Brazil, and it's done from natural stuff, And I ask, why would not change it? It's maybe $1 more than for 500 packages, but you would save life of your clients. Unfortunately, I was not heard. Another place I attended, and I saw there is some kind of sign in the bathroom, where is written that please place toilet paper to the basket. And I asked owner of the restaurant why is in the basket but not by natural way in the unitas. And she told me because it's old building and we are concerned about quality of the canalization. I don't think it should be a defense because all these papers, what is absorbed on the paper, when it's become dry, goes to the air and goes to the restaurant by airflow. I think that our health department doesn't do of their job. Maybe they would not react on the modest and mild suggestion of the semi-retired physician, but maybe they would react on your notice, Mr. Mayor. Now, I would like to address the police, to whom I like very much. And last year, I addressed the issue that when you drive on the 181 south from here, and you have to make left turn to the Sparta Theatrical Plaza, there is double yellow line. According to the manual, you should not cross it. But every driver crossing this yellow line, and on the one hand, they become somehow in the dangerous position. On the other hand, maybe they create some kind of guilt feeling about that. And the second, what I would like to address to police attention, that in the Glen Road Park, when you go to the park, they have a very sharp down to rim. And when drivers go up, they don't see what is on the road. When the driver goes down, up to last moment, they don't see is any car is incoming. Therefore, I think it would be not too much to place a mirror size like this sign, which would show people, would inform them that somebody is coming or not. I'm trying to be short because it's a great pleasure and temptation to talk in front of the city management. What I brought last year, more than a year, maybe 13 months ago, I told that there is a deficiency of mental health facility, particularly psychiatrists in our county. And stupid me, offer my public free service, which translates in the $250,000 if you would hire someone. I brought American Medical Association blueprint, roadmap, how to do this, but my service is not enough because this type of clinic requires some kind of space, some kind of secretary, and insurances for this space. And I thought that I would convince city management that this would be a good idea for citizens of our county. In 13 months, nobody called me, nobody asked me what should be done. And meanwhile, the over 50% of the old people who suffered from COVID have a complication with mental health. And by the way, the police also could be interested in this idea because I'm sure that certain criminal behavior could be related to mental health issue, at least 20-25% of your clients have mental health disorders, maybe more. So I try to be short. Thank you so much for your attention. If you have any questions, I would be delighted to answer.
Dr. Leboff, thanks for coming out tonight, and we did miss you. Thank you for coming back. I will add one thing, and I believe I mentioned this last time, that the township does not have a health department. We contract with the county. I think your offer is very generous and might be favorably viewed if you brought that offer to the county, because again, we don't play in that space. Our services are done at the county level. So if you need a number to call, I don't have it, but if you call our clerk, I'm naming, putting you on the spot here, the clerk would, I'm sure, can direct you to the right person to call about the health services.
You know, I don't have political experience and I don't have such management skill like you.
I'm
If
not
you
a
would
politician.
agree to help me, at least to give me a booster to introduce them, they don't know me, I don't know them, and when I would come to them, they would think that I'm in personal
Okay.
condition.
And we also.
I'd be happy to.
And
Thank you.
we also have a professional who is our liaison to the county. So although we don't have our own health department, we do have someone that we hire, and then we can raise that issue that you've raised, or the issues that you've raised, particularly the one about the restaurant, with our professional, and then he can take it upon himself to, if he sees it fit, to bring that before the county. And then, as to your issue about access, as the husband to a psychologist, I can tell you I'm very steeped in that. So that is an issue, and that, there's things being done at the state level to improve that access. So I think that, but just know, I'm sure I can, everyone shares your concern that the ability to access mental health care is a critical issue that I think all from the federal level all the way down to the local level, people should be concerned about. So I appreciate you, bringing that to our attention. But we need to move on. We have a lot of items. So thank you again for being here, and also for your genuine concern for your fellow Spartans. That comes through in everything you say. That you're concerned about the people you live with, and it's citizens like you who care for their fellow men and women that makes this town great. So thank you.
Respectable Mayor, I have a confession to make, and I have to use you as your wife, as a psychologist. I have a guilt complex, and I want to reveal my bad thoughts to you. I thought that you blocked my idea in order to prevent a competition for your wife's business and don't create additional mental health services here. I thought that she told you, don't do that. We can do this ourselves. I apologize, deeply apologize for
Well,
my bad thoughts, but
I
you
will
know.
say that you completely, I know all in jest, but you completely misread my wife. She has a phrase that calls, we should always act through an attitude of abundance, which is, we should share our gifts and our talents with all those and not be proprietary about them. So rest assured, it had nothing to do with with any, trying to protect. She has plenty of business. She doesn't need to do anything to keep that up. But frankly, I'd wish she'd have less business. I'd probably see more of her.
Thank you,
but
Mayor.
thanks again.
Forgive my paranoia.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay.
you.
Are there any other members of the public wishing to be heard on items not on the agenda?
Hi, Christy Whitehouse, 404 East Shore Trail. Just giving another plug about representation from our Environmental Commission. I know it came up last week at the Environmental Commission meeting, and it's been, there was a big showing there of people, and Margie, you addressed that, there's a plan to make sure that the environmental interests will be represented, but until we know what that plan is, we're going to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to be heard on items not on the agenda? Right. We are now up to the expenditures.
I would like, since I'm not a frequent flyer, would like to express concern by some of the people in my neighborhood, and this is for the chief. This is for the chief. They are concerned, a few of the residents in Sparta Commons wish that there was left-hand turn signals at the corner of Sparta Avenue and 517. You have it on 181 going across, but we don't have those left-hand turn signals going onto Sparta Avenue from, the ShopRite area. So
I know what you're talking about. That's been brought up to the state many times. We're waiting to hear, but we've brought it up several times over the past year.
thank you. Keep bringing
Years,
it
I
up.
should say.
Appreciate it.
We'll keep on it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we are now, anyone else wishing to be heard on items not on the agenda? Okay. Seeing no one, we are now up to the expenditures. We have two tonight, one for December 24th, 2024, and the next one is for January 14th, 2025. Deputy Mayor Murphy, would you please read the expenditures for December 24th, 2024?
They are $7,299,362.
Okay. May I have a motion to approve the expenditures for December 24th, 2024?
Have a motion. I will second that.
I just need you to make
Make
the
a
motion.
motion to, may I have a motion to approve the expenditures for December 24th, 2024 of $7,299,362.
I'll motion to approve those.
This is
Is there a second?
Okay.
I'll second.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 The December 24th, 2024 expenditures have been approved. Deputy Mayor Murphy, would you please read the expenditures for January 14th, 2025?
Yes, they are $1,233,666.23. And may I have a motion to approve the expenditures for January 14th, 2025 of $1,233,666.23 as amended, or approve, for approval.
I'll make a motion to approve those.
And I will,
Second?
that's fine.
Thank you.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 The expenditures for January 14th, 2025 are approved. Tonight, we have three ordinance for introduction. And just a refresher on introduction, this is not the time to have a hearing on it. That will come if the ordinance is passed as to be introduced. Tonight is simply to introduce them, and then if it does pass, usually 2 weeks hence, there will be a hearing on it. So, Madam Clerk, could you please read the title of Ordinance 2501?
Township of Sparta ordinance to exceed the municipal budget appropriation limits and to establish a cap bank.
All right, may I have a motion to introduce Ordinance 2501?
Make a motion to introduce 2501.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
All right, and before we have a roll call vote, I'll take it back here. Just one question for Mr. Zepp. What is the purpose of this ordinance, and have we done it before?
Yes, Mayor, we have done this, it's fairly common amongst many towns. The standard appropriation cap for the budget is 2.5%. By ordinance approved by the council, we can exceed that or raise that cap to 3.5%. The finance office, financial consultant, the interim CFO, and myself have reviewed the needs to implement and take advantage of this option of raising it up to 3.5. It doesn't mean we'll be going to 3.5. However, it gives us the option to go that high if it's necessary for our budget for this year.
Thank you. Any other council have questions? Or
Is this 3.5% over and above the rate of inflation, or
No,
is it just a gross
As it's
3.5%?
printed in the ordinance, they use last year's final appropriation budget, and you would have a standard 2.5% that you could go to for the following year's budget. By implementing this ordinance, you're raising it to 3.5%. And the numbers are putting there, and this is based on last year's numbers on the total budget. Again, it doesn't mean we will be using the whole budget. In fact, you have the ability to, the bank section in there allows you to carry the difference into the following 2 years that you could utilize that of what you don't appropriate.
So this is not growing government, this is just keeping up with the rate of inflation?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call on ordinance 2501?
Councilman Scott,
Yes.
Councilman Blumetti,
Yes.
Councilman Chiarello,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Murphy,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. So congratulations, council. You have introduced your first ordinance of 2025. Next up, Madam Clerk, could you please read ordinance 2502?
An ordinance of the Township of Sparta amending Chapter 8 of the Township Code entitled Filming to establish a film committee.
May I have a motion to introduce ordinance 2502?
I make a motion to introduce ordinance 2502.
May I have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. My understanding, Councilman, or Attorney Dash, could you tell us the purpose of having this ordinance? I think I know, but I think you should
Sure.
explain.
So the township last year passed an ordinance enacting a provision in its township code to allow for a film-ready commission. But at that time, the actual committee was not enacted as part of the ordinance. And so it's my understanding that the council desires to formally have a committee that can be established. And the proper mechanism to do so, if it wasn't done initially, is to do so by ordinance. And the ordinance you have in front of you is 2502, which simply establishes the establishment of the Sparta Township Film Committee.
Got you. And am I correct that what the ordinance that we passed in which was 2413, which had to do with the licensing and fees and the permitting, that remains intact? This simply adds to that provision, the committee?
That's correct.
Okay. And I can tell council that this is the model that is used by Clinton and I believe Manalapan, which were pointed to by the New Jersey Film Commission as sort of model ordinances dealing with that. Each of those have within their licensing and permitting the actual establishment of their committee. That's right?
That's correct.
Okay. And so that is the reason for this, to formally establish it, and then to put it so that when a prospective person who wants to do entertainment production can both pull up the film committee and also pull up the requirements for getting permitted in Sparta, as those will appear on the E-code, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay,
Eventually,
so-
they'll be incorporated.
All right, and so they wouldn't have to do like a whole search of our ordinances, it will simply show up on the E-code.
Correct.
Okay.
So I have some questions on this I'd like to
I do as well.
ask. I appreciate the fact that this is based on two other towns' ordinance, but to me, it's missing a lot of detail still that I think would strengthen it and that are needed. For instance, it's what's the purpose of this really? So it's essentially a marketing function. I know it's to encourage film and entertainment production, but what does this group do? Like, how is it accomplished? Like, not goals or purpose, but I'd like to see like activities and processes. So in other words, what is the blocking and tackling? What are they actually doing to enable encouraging film and entertainment production? And then I would ask too that we add in there, well, first, I guess, why is it not part of the Business Development Committee, or could it be considered to be part of that? The membership, I have some questions on too. It seems that, I was curious what the rationale was for 14 members. That seems a little high. I was confused a little bit by some of the titles of the roles, like first assistant chair, second assistant chair, chief creative ambassador, chief ambassador, communications coordinator. I kind of get the sense they came from other ordinances other towns used, but for me, I'd rather see them consistent with every other board and committee that we have here in Sparta and keep it chair and vice chair. It's like chief administrator of what, I was kind of asking, and communications coordinator for what? Because I'd like to see in here that all communications need to be township approved and township communications. I was a little confused by that. And then finally, the last two, one is a minor one, what's the meeting cadence and schedule? It's not indicated. They're meeting every second Tuesday or what have you. And then the last one is a biggie. I wasn't clear on why we have voting members and non-voting members, and what are the voting members really voting on? So like, what authority do they have as a advisory committee, which I think they should be. This is an advisory committee, it's not a statutory board. So I think these can all be addressed. I'm not against this, but I just think this is nowhere near ready yet. I think I propose we rework it. Sorry, I talked a long while there. Dan?
I can build on that. So I agree with Councilman Blumetti that there are significant structural problems with this ordinance that, in my view, cannot be advanced in its current form. The councilman did discuss a couple of these things. I'll just hit on them again briefly. Ordinance does not describe the scope or the responsibilities of this committee. So I think they need to be included in this ordinance. Councilman Blumetti also mentioned that I don't understand the purpose of having voting members. I don't know what they're voting on. It's not described here. We don't know what business they conduct, if they conduct any business at all. So I don't understand what the voting how voting plays into this. Councilman Blumetti also mentioned that there are certain positions on the board that need certain qualifications. I don't know why these skill sets are needed and what those qualifications are from those applicants. So if a future applicant wants to be put in that position, under what skill sets or what objective measures are they judged to having met those skill sets? I think if we're going to ask that certain people have certain skill sets, for the purpose I still don't know, but that needs to be spelled out in the ordinance. Councilman Blumetti also mentioned that I don't know if this committee will be in public, if it will publish minutes. That needs to be spelled out. I guess the committee could establish their own cadence of meeting, but I believe they should meet in public for reasons that come next. Ordinance 2413 identifies that this Film Ready Committee will have responsibilities for reviewing and responding within 5 days. So the scope of the committee is not identified, but that seems a very odd thing to put into that first initial ordinance. So if there is a 5-day period upon which the Film Ready Committee has to review and respond to an application to film in this town, there's a number of problems with that. How do you assemble a committee in 5 days, and how do you notify the public that there's a public meeting at which time an applicant will be judged by this committee? If that's in public, can the applicant attend this meeting and speak on his or her behalf? Having that within 5 days of the receipt of the application by this committee, and I don't know who receives it, sounds like a very difficult task to meet. If the committee is going to be reviewing and responding to applications, what objective standards do they have to judge this application by? And that's, to me, is important, because when a business comes before the town to establish themselves in the town, they come before one of our statutory boards. It's a serious process. There are objective standards against which the application is judged. They are outlined in very great detail in our ordinances. The applicant is often represented by attorneys. Our own professionals are present in these meetings. Our board members swear an oath to judge applications impartially against these objective standards. This rigor that applies to a business that wants to operate in our town doesn't seem to apply here, when this committee will review and respond within 5 days, may or may not be in public, and there's no objective standards against which they'll judge the application by. I think that is fraught with a lot of problems. If an applicant is rejected by the committee, and I know the committee doesn't have the final say, but if the committee recommends that the application be rejected, and if the the township manager, who does have the authority, cites that committee's report as justification of that, Could the applicant object to that and sue us for not having objective standards against which this thing was applied? That the committee not met in public? I just don't see how an ordinance and a process like that would stand up if, because you're talking about people doing business here, and that seems to be a very odd way of judging whether or not somebody can do business in town. And I think Councilman Bledmeny also mentioned that, what's the purpose of of highlighting this particular type of business? We don't have committees to attract bakeries to town, or printing presses. Why would we provide a committee to promote one type of business and not all the others? And as such, if we think that all business is great in this town, and I think in general, that's a nice aspiration to have, this probably should just be part of the Business Development Committee because that's its day job. So I know that's a lot, and I don't expect an answer right now on all these things, but I believe all these things must be addressed in this ordinance before it can be advanced. And that's all I have to say.
I won't entertain all of that, obviously. But I think that, for one, a lot of those suggestions that you have made, there's not a single film statute in the state of New Jersey that does that. And so there was obviously a reason for that. So that would put us in complete odds with other towns who have successfully done this. And so to layer on requirement after requirement that no other town has, just it doesn't seem to make sense. Two, some of the requirements that you have for a non-statutory board, can you point to a non-statutory board that has the same, puts in the ordinance establishing that all the sequencing of meetings has requirements for membership? I know, are you saying that we need to start having requirements for our Trails Committee, requirements for our other non-statutory? Is that what you're suggesting?
No, just the opposite. I don't think that we should have any types of standards upon which we judge an applicant other than the applicant wishes to serve his or her community and has maybe some background in it, but I don't believe an applicant should be put into a shoebox of I am a creative consultant. So I'm just advocating exactly the opposite.
Well, I don't see this as requiring any type of qualification, but the point of this is that you have people on this committee who have experience with the entertainment industry and how productions are done, and so that they can properly inform the town manager, who has complete discretion. None of these folks have the authority to decide yes or no whether an entertainment production is allowed. They simply are advisory and simply can advise as such. And so that, I think that, and that's was spelled out, and we explained that when we did ordinance 2413.
But it's
And
not
I think
spelled out here.
Yeah, and I think well, I don't think it needs to, because the statute is self-explanatory. If you read 2413, it is clear that the decision to allow entertainment production resides with the town manager in consultation with the chief of police. And frankly, this is how it's done all over our nation. And so I think, and all, as for the purpose, if anyone has been paying attention, entertainment production is a large business in New Jersey. So it's not consistent with a bakery. It's also an initiative that the state has put a lot of effort into, and other towns are doing. So that's really the purpose. So, I think that there's, we don't need to reinvent the wheel here. I think other towns, you had Janice Kovach, who appeared before us last year, who is the mayor of Clinton. She's also a board member of the New Jersey League of Municipalities. And you don't become a board member on the League of Municipalities without significant experience in municipal affairs. And Clinton found that it was sufficient for their purposes to have an ordinance that's very similar to this one. And so I just think layering on this, frankly, just seems more to obstruct than to do what is an initiative by both the state and other towns in New Jersey. So with that, I think we can go ahead, unless any other
I would just like to respond real quick to that you said. So I just don't understand, what would you tell somebody or tell me, or what would I tell somebody to ask me, what do these 14 people do? Like, I get what the overarching goal is. I think that's great. What do they, I just don't get what they do. It doesn't say here what these 14 people are going to get together and do. Are they marketing? Are they hand-holding to make it easier for them to get into our town? Are they,
Is it a club?
I just don't know what they do, like, honestly.
They
Not
vet.
being sarcastic, I just don't know what they do.
No, I mean, part of it is if you know how entertainment production works, part of their duty is to simply vet when someone says, I want to film in Sparta, they can talk to them and find out what is it that you want to do, when do you want to do it, what is it going to require, and that they, because they have experience in the area, can actually speak intelligently to the person so that they can properly advise our town manager. So that is what they do. And as far as communications, no communication from this committee will not be will obviously be vetted by Mr. Zepp. And so I mean, and I don't what those communications are. I don't know yet. It hasn't come up, and I don't think we need to spell out what the communications would be in the same way we don't spell out what the communications would be for the Trails Committee, for the Cultural Affairs Committee, for any of these other ones. So again, to layer on requirements that don't exist for our other non-statutory boards, just for this one, it seems that there's an intent to obstruct as opposed to one to try to encourage something that will put money in the pockets of our local businesses and to follow an initiative that our state has put a lot of resources into and that is now close to a $1 billion economic opportunity.
I understand, Neil, what the purpose is of why Sparta wants to do this. And I'm not saying communications need to be spelled out here, but they need to be approved by the town. That's a given, right? I think we agree on that. I wasn't saying that we have to know what the communications are. What are they voting on? Like, I still don't know. Okay, last year we had a business development consultant, right? And their role and their job was to help potential applicants learn more about our planning office, about the forms, kind of handhold them through the process. I thought maybe that's what these folks were going to do, but I don't understand why there's 14 and why they're voting. You don't have to answer it now. That's where my confusion is.
They're voting to whether to recommend to Mr. Zepp whether we should accept or reject this. And Mr. Zepp is free to say, I disagree with you, I think we should have it, or no, I don't think we should. It's his call, along with consultation. So that's part of what they are voting on. And so I think, and frankly, before, I think our other committees, before they decide to advise the town council about something, I would hope that they would have a consensus among the members about what they are going to advise about, and that they don't bring to us something that they have complete disagreement on and don't have a majority consensus. I hope that's the practice, and I think that this committee will follow that same practice. And I think, I don't wish to engage anymore unless you want to keep going.
Well, I do, because there's only 3 voting members of 14, so I think consensus would be maybe a good idea, but I don't think 3 is helpful. I'm just concerned that they're going to be screening in a process where we don't need to screen at that level, that they help prepare the applicant or the parties and then bring them into the process and let the regular process work its way out. That would be my preference.
Okay.
I don't know of any other committee that doesn't have its purpose spelled out.
I think the purpose is, did you miss where it said purpose? To establish a Sparta Film Committee to attract and encourage film and other entertainment production in Sparta Township. Is that something that you missed when you read the ordinance, or I'm confused when you say there's not a purpose? It's actually in the ordinance.
To attract and encourage, so that's their process, to attract and encourage film and other entertainment.
I think your question was its purpose, and the purpose is there, but
Neil,
Okay.
Neil,
Seems a little.
I just want to express that, I've financed several of these movie studios in in Yonkers, New York. And there's a real ecosystem that goes with movie studio production. There are, dry cleaners, there's catering services, there's, supplies, there's hairdressers, there's many town vendors that will get a boost out of this. So to put handcuffs on this, to over-regulate this, I think is ridiculous. And I'd like to make a motion to accept ordinance 2502.
Well,
I
it's
think
an
we've
ordinance, so
already-
we've already, so now we're just at the point of roll call. And so, Madam Clerk, will you have a roll call, please?
Councilman Scott,
Yes.
Councilman Blumetti,
No.
Councilman Chiarello,
No.
Deputy Mayor Murphy,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes. 2502 is introduced. We're now up to ordinance 2503. Madam Clerk, could you please read the title of 2503?
Ordinance authorizing the lease between the Township of Sparta and Sparta Ecumenical Council on Senior Citizen Housing, Inc., in accordance with the New Jersey Local Lands and Buildings Law.
All right, may I have a motion to introduce ordinance 2503?
I'd like to make a motion to introduce ordinance 2503.
I will second.
Okay, any questions from the council before we go to roll call?
I have a question. Is there a change in the lease agreement terms?
No, there's not. It is a very beneficial relationship we have with the Knoll Heights community, and the rates have stayed the same. And this lease has been done several times, and we're on a renewal for another 3-year period.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No other questions.
Anyone else with questions on 2503 before we go to roll call? All right, seeing none, Madam Clerk, may I have a roll call vote?
Councilman Scott,
Yes.
Councilman Blumetti,
Yes.
Councilman Chiarello,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Murphy,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes, 2503 is introduced. We are now up to the second public comment period. Again, this is just with respect to the resolutions. And so if you have a comment with respect to the 21 resolutions that are identified in the agenda, please come up, state your name and address for the record. Okay. All right, seeing no one, we will move to the resolutions. First, as people know, we will handle a couple resolutions, what I say en masse. The resolutions, so I would like to move that we approve the following resolutions: 9-1, 9-2, 9-3, 9-4, 9-7, 9-8, 9-9, 9-10, 9-11, 9-12, 9-13, 9-14, 9-15, 9-16, 9-17, and 9-18. So it's a motion to approve the resolutions that I read. As people can tell, most of these are dealing with the contract purchasing organizations, cooperative ones. We tend to do this in January. Am I right, Mr.
Yes.
Zepp? Okay.
Yes.
So I just need a second to approve the resolutions that I identified.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 And just so we're clear, I will read those off again, if that's okay. The following resolutions have been approved: 9-1, 9-2, 9-3, 9-4, 9-7, 9-8, 9-9, 9-10, 9-11, 9-12, 9-13, 9-14, 9-15, 9-16, 9-17, and 9-18. Okay? Next up, we have to do the resolutions that we didn't do altogether. And so may I have a motion to approve Resolution 9-5?
I move we approve resolution 9-5.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Resolution 9-5 has passed. Next, may I have a motion to approve Resolution 9-6?
I make a motion to approve 9-6.
May I have a second, please?
I will second that.
All those in favor say aye.
We have a roll call vote, please?
Councilman Scott,
Yes.
Councilman Blumetti,
No.
Councilman Chiarello,
No.
Deputy Mayor Murphy,
Yes.
Mayor Clark.
Yes, Resolution 9-6 has passed. May I have may I have a motion to approve Resolution 9-19?
Jim, can you tell me about
Well,
what this is?
what I'll do, and before we can have a discussion on it, we have to,
I'd like to make a motion to accept Resolution 9-19.
may I have a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, back to council for discussion. Okay, Mark, you can ask your
Jim.
question.
Thank you.
You'll get used to it.
All right. Jim, can you tell me what this is about?
Sure. So last year, we put an RFP out for professional services for the overtime work for the water and sewer utility. And what this is for the water main breaks, these are for the fire hydrant repairs, these are for installation of water lines and repair of sewer pipes. It's a detailed RFP. The award was made to Bob Viersma and Sons, and they've actually been a longtime vendor of ours, but they won the award last year. And in the RFP, we have the option of extending the contract 2 additional years. So we're on the second year to exercise our option of extending that award, and that's what you are voting on by resolution tonight.
Any other council have questions about Resolution 9-19?
I'll add, I think I had a question about the PFAS involvement. This does not involve the PFAS work in any way. When we come to that project, it'll most likely bid out on its own.
Okay.
This is strictly for repairing of anything, water main breaks, hydrants, whatnot.
Exactly,
Keep the water moving.
exactly.
Okay.
Any other questions from council? Okay, we've had a first and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So Resolution 9-19 has passed. May I have a resolution, may I have a motion to approve Resolution 9-20?
Make a motion, we approve Resolution 920.
May I have a second?
I'll second it.
And I will take it back to council for discussion. Just a question, Manager Zep, what is the purpose of this resolution?
Well, I understand there's some confusion about this. This is actually a standard process that many, many towns do in the transfer. The state allows us at the end of the last 2 months of the year to move monies around. Now, as we were discussing on the prior council meetings about best practices, and we also spoke about auditor recommendations, it would state that they recommend that the council use formal resolution to be transparent on the movement of monies in the budget. All right? So as recommended by the interim CFO and my financial consultant, they put together these transfers. These are some excess monies in the 2024 lines that they chose to move to cover other lines that would possibly be extended. So you don't want these account lines to be overextended. And by doing these transfers, we're able to cover that. And this is a usual procedure that's done, and this illustrates where the money's coming from and where it's going.
And am I right that prior to the audit that we had and the best practices, that prior administrations did do similar transfers? They just didn't pass a resolution to do it. They just did it.
That's my understanding.
Okay. And so what we're doing is following the best practice recommendation of our auditor. Is that right?
Right, the auditor and the DCA.
Okay.
It's a best practice, and it's a good thing. We're fixing a lot of good stuff here, so.
Got you. And the money that is, and before taking money from one department and transferring it to another, what investigation or, analysis do you do from the department where the money is being taken from?
The CFO or the financial consultant, they're working as a team on this. They'll consult with that department head of the departments, and we'll make sure that, their costs are covered before we, transfer monies out of their budget. It's actually something I speak to the department heads about a lot, that, whenever you're using another department's account line for whatever the expense is that's appropriate, that the department head knows and it's cleared. And this is so, all the bills are paid appropriately.
Thank
I
you.
could just give a little context too, just for, in case people haven't seen the numbers. When you think about, we have a $30 million budget, what we're talking here is less than 100,000, just shifting between accounts. So it's relatively very, very tiny.
That's correct. Thank you, Dean.
Any other discussion among council members on this resolution? So seeing none, we've had a first and a second. All those in favor of Resolution 920, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 920 has passed. May I have a motion to approve Resolution 921?
Make a motion to approve Resolution 9-21.
May I have a second, please?
Second.
Okay, and Manager Zepp, is there a reason why we have two separate transfer resolutions as opposed to just combine them into one? Or?
Yes, it has to do with the time period. If you look at the time period, the first one said for the last 2 months of November 1st to December 31st. This one is for the first 3 months of 2025. The excess monies in '24 are carried over into a reserve account, and they are used to pay the unanticipated '24 bills that still come, and you still need to pay them, but you get to use your '24 excess monies to pay them. And it's really for the unforeseen or unanticipated appropriations that you need to make, and you can do that with the excess monies that you bring over for the first 3 months.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions from council on Resolution 921? Okay, all those in favor of Resolution 921, say aye.
Aye.
All right, Resolution 921 has passed. We are now up to council liaison updates, but I will make a motion to recess, just simply so folks, we've been going for a while. We will take a 5-minute recess. So, make a motion. Can I have a second?
Okay.
Not sure this is necessary. I'm going to do it anyway. I will make a motion that we come back in session and recess is entered, is over. So it's a motion to resume. May I have a motion to resume?
Let's get going. May I make a motion to resume?
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are back in session. We are now up to the council liaison updates, and I will start to my far right with Councilman Chiarello.
Thank you. I'll just have one update. The Sister City Committee met on January 9th with members of the Sparta Institute. At that meeting, we reviewed the proposed event schedule, set some topics for the academic discussions. One interesting thing was revealed to us was that part of the Institute's goal of having the conference here and what they want to achieve by the conference is they are preparing an application to recognize Sparta, Greece as a UNESCO World Cultural Heritage Site, and that's one of the reasons why they want to solicit from other towns named Sparta, why they're named Sparta and what that means to them, and they want us all to gather in one place. And so I didn't realize at the time that we were preparing a UNESCO World Heritage Site application, so I think that's very interesting. The committee established a formal meeting schedule in 2025. We'll meet every third Monday of the month, except for January and February, which will be the fourth Mondays due to the holiday. So our next meeting will be January 28th, and that's all I have.
Councilman Blumetti.
None for me. Thank you.
All right, I will go first off. I attended last Wednesday the library board, of which the mayor is automatically on there. So we approved the budget for 2025, and I know Mr. Zepp will be pleased. He probably already knows that they're keeping within their statutory mill. There's no need to increase that. Some townships find that they have to do that. That's a particularly salutary accomplishment in that they face the same kind of, pension increases, other things that we all do, but they're able to keep us within their statutory mill. So kudos to David Costa and his staff for being able to do that. Also, they passed resolutions. There's a new minimum wage law in effect. And so the library, both resolutions passed that library assistants will be paid at least the statutory minimum wage, and existing employees, to the extent that they were not at the new minimum wage, they will be moved up to that. Next is they will be switching at the end of the year to a new interlibrary loan system, and because their contract is ending with their current vendor, this will allow for a lot more access to books and at a fast time, and so they're working on that. But that's another very good accomplishment of our library, and as we all know, it's such a huge pillar of our community. And David Costa and his staff do a fantastic job. Next up, I had a meeting. It seems like 3 weeks ago, but it was actually last night. The Trails Committee. We are in the the update of trying to pick the most feasible trails that we could do, and by feasibility, that simply means how much do we have to do to make it happen. A lot of these trails, they do exist. In fact, they're advertised in the county, but a lot of them are not maintained. On one stretch of trail, there could be 3 or 4 different property owners. A lot of these are conservation groups or the state, and so there'll be efforts made to reach out to them to see the feasibility. But when the time comes, the Trails Committee will be able to advise council on their progress, and I will do so now as opposed to under unfinished business. But we've had people who have attended who now wish to be part of the Trails Committee, and they've provided really invaluable service, including Doug Dykstra, his surveying experience, Christy Whitehouse, who's a lifetime resident, has a lot of experience in environmental issues, and also Christine Dunbar. And so I would make a motion at this point to appoint Doug Dykstra, Christy Whitehouse, and Christine Dunbar to the Trails Committee, and all of them have submitted their applications.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So Doug Dykstra, Christy Whitehouse, and Christine Dunbar are now part of the Trails Committee. The Film Committee has not met yet this week, but we will be meeting on Thursday. Lake Mohawk, we have not met yet, but I know Deputy Mayor Murphy and I will be, we have, I think, an email from Susan Egan of Lake Mohawk, and we need to just pick a mutually convenient time to meet. Board of Ed, I spoke with the Board of Ed President, Caitlin Gagnon, and they are, the Board of Ed themselves are going to get back to us about the next available date for us to meet. The Rev 250, we are going to meet in February, and so there'll be, additional items that, start really getting moving on these, part of the Rev 250. But I will point out, this committee has already taken action, and that the Boy Scouts and members of the Veterans of Foreign War, number 7248 in Sparta, which is helmed by Pete Litchfield, and thanks to him, there was a gathering at the graveyard at Sparta Presbyterian Church to place flags and markers on the graves of Revolutionary War soldiers and ladies of Trenton. That happened in October. And the identification and repair of the gravestones is part of the Rev 250 anniversary. And so they repaired 2 of the Ogden family stones for Mary and wife Elias Ogden, and Sarah, wife of Robert Ogden III. As folks who've lived here for a while, the Ogdens were early settlers in the Sparta region, and Ogdensburg is named after their family. And I'll save the rest to unfinished and new business. And so, Deputy Murphy, do we have any council liaison updates?
Yes, I went to the Environmental Commission, and it was very eye-opening, and it was terrific, and some very excellent people that are on that board, are on that committee. What we discussed were the trails and what they're working on, the Mohawk Avenue School to Sparta High School Trail, the Ogden Mill Rail, and then the ones that have been abandoned in Sparta that have not been taken care of. So they're working on those as well. They're very, they got me the whole open space binder. I have to read that, it's that thick. But very, very proactive on that, and they're wanting us to help reach out to get reach out to the citizens of Sparta to make sure that everybody is environmentally focused and to know what they're doing and to help guide, or not help guide, but just take part in all the environment that the tasks that they're taking. I'm sure a lot of people don't even know about it. And just to raise the level of awareness and hope people will follow. There is they're talking about the testing of the sheds, the watersheds. We have 5 watersheds in Sparta, and obviously we're testing with the PFAS to move on that. Earth Day, which is to be held probably May 3rd, and they'd like to move to the Mohawk Avenue School. I think this will be the second one. We didn't have it last year, and the first one was held out front here. So they were talking about having that moved to the Mohawk Avenue School, which would make a lot more room and a lot more probably participation. And then also talking about there's a lot of people from Rutgers, and especially somebody that could come talk to, maybe hold a lecture in Sparta about the exact plants that we should have here, the native plants, the different growing types that would best benefit the town and benefit our ground and our soil. So that was very, very interesting. In many designs, and they're talking about having two different designs. I said, well, maybe even at the Van Kirk Museum, they could plant one. And so that's maybe a possibility. And then discussing with LMCC buffer zones, and which LMCC does a pretty good job. And it's like how with the landscapers and what you can and cannot do and cannot put in the soil, and how close to mowing and different things like that. So it was very eye-opening, and I'm sure I've missed something, but I will pick up on it next time. And there is the survey on farmland preservation, which is on the website. So they've got a lot of things in motion.
Any other liaison
And-
updates besides Environmental Commission?
No, I have a meeting tomorrow with the Senior Advisory Committee, and then the Rev 250 was postponed.
Got you.
So,
And you did remind me something I did leave out about the Trails Committee. We were very fortunate to have a member of the Environmental Commission and really one of the pillars of the environmental movement in Sparta, Neil Sauerwein, came to our meeting and informed us that they have some outstanding grant money that needs to be spent before February in the amount, I believe, of $2,000, and that the Environmental Commission has graciously come to the Trails Committee and said, if you have need to spend this $2,000, that please, we were going to let you do it. It would, they've looked at it and it would comply with their current grant. And the purpose why you want to spend that money is that then that would entitle you to a grant the subsequent year of a higher amount. And for some of these projects, we're not there yet with our due diligence, but will require some funding and some grant money to begin with. And so we want to have that availability for having additional grant money. And there's, one of the ideas was to signage in the Sparta Glen. There's we can find a way to spend that money, and we'll do so promptly. But again, thank you very much to our Environmental Commission, and particularly Neil Sauerwein, who brought this to our attention. We're very grateful for that. But you reminded me about that, so thank you.
oh, good.
And
good.
so, Councilman
And that's all I have. Thank you.
Scott, any council liaison updates?
I have no update on the Municipal Alliance, and I have no update on the business development, the newly reconstituted Business Development Committee. However, I would like to nominate Ryan Caruso to be an addition to the Business Development Committee. He's a small business owner in town. He's the president of Lake Mohawk Preservation Foundation. He's very active in volunteering in many organizations in town, and he's a very positive resource. I hope the board, or the town council will vote him on. And his application is in.
So I think you said nominate, and,
Yeah,
just
I
sorry to be
nominate-
pedantic about it, but just we'll do, I think you probably should make a motion.
I
to-
make a motion to nominate Ryan Caruso to the Business Development Committee.
All right,
We'll second that.
okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Mr. Caruso, sorry we couldn't do it last week, but welcome and thank you for being such a, contributing to your community in so many different ways, and we're glad to have you on the Business Development Committee. All right, and now we are up to unfinished and new business, and this is, sometimes this is stuff that you can't really fit into your council liaison updates, but so one example is last weekend, I had the privilege of attending the Eagle Scout Award ceremony for Matthew Stenderwitz. He is based out of the Sparta Boy Scouts, and they had, I think, close to 7 Eagle Scouts last year. And Mr. Stenderwitz has for his Eagle Scout project, he was at the Lady of Lake, and he basically put pavers down for them, and it took over 158 hours to do that. And it was a huge undertaking, in addition to the 23 merit badges that he got en route to getting an Eagle Scout. And one thing that, as I spoke to all the members there, one thing that they all said was how grateful they are to Pete Litchfield and the VFW, who have been tremendously helpful in hosting the Eagle Scouts, getting them what they need and what they want. Unfortunately, that isn't the experience of other scout troops in other areas. They don't have as much cooperation from a hosting site as we do. So Mr. Litchfield and that VFW should be commended for that, because these young men provided tremendous service for their community, and will also go on to continue that service as they go forward. And that's something that when I speak to those, I remind them of that this just simply is the beginning of their service to their community, and that they have a particular skill set now to continue to give even after this wonderful award that they get. The next new business that I would like to address is a letter that we got from a Jeanette Vander Groof, and I'm probably butchering the name, and I apologize. It's addressed to me, Mayor Clark, but as I read it, you'll understand that really this goes to the staff and administration of Sparta Township under the leadership of Mr. Zepp. Dear Mayor Clark, I would like to say thank you for your recent efforts to improve pedestrian safety in the area close to the Chelsea. The signage is very helpful. I am hopeful that these will be acknowledged by the motorists. Merry Christmas, Jeanette Vandergoof. So this really is, although it's addressed to me, the people who deserve this credit are, our officers, our staff, our DPW staff, Manager Zepp. So job well done, and it's recognized by our citizens. So thank you.
It was a collaborative effort with the Public Works and the Police Department, so we always like the positive news.
Did you say Van de Groof with a G?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I think those, if I'm not mistaken, I think they're a family with very deep roots in Sussex County that go back many generations. I'm not familiar with the name.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if there's also a Van Kirk too, which is
Van de Groof
yeah,
specifically.
is another one. Also, there is some unfinished and new business. We were made aware of an issue with respect to a planning board member and the time and duration of their tenure there. It came to our attention that they had actually expired without being renewed. And so in order to, and that person is currently a Class 4 member. And so, and they were not we were not compliant with the statute related to the classification and the designation of that particular member. And so it became necessary to fill that. And so, and we got an application for membership in the planning board. I know there was some concerns about the environmental commission's representation on there. And so we have an application by Mr. Rob Otto who has been a member of the Environmental Commission. He's also been intimately involved in various environmental issues. He's a trained geologist with a lot of experience, and I think he can bring a lot of that to bear on the planning board. And so at this point, I would make a motion to appoint Rob Otto as a Class 4 member of the planning board.
Second.
I would like to make a comment on this now that it's.
Sure.
Okay, a couple of things I'd like to say. One is that I disagree with the position that Mike Sylvester was appointed improperly to the Class 4 position. It is his own understanding and assertion that he was appointed as a Class 4 member and not as the liaison from the zoning board at the time. This is going back to January 2022. We have a document signed by then Mayor Smith, which identifies his appointment with a termination date of December 31st, 2025. The minutes of the meeting at which he was appointed to that Class 4 position show that Mr. Sylvester was indeed appointed as a Class 4 member with a termination date of December 31st, 2025. Those same minutes identify a different person occupying the position of the zoning board liaison. And as such, I disagree that we have a Class 4 opening. I'd like to add to that, there's a very simple solution, and one is if we're concerned about the representation of the Environmental Commission on the planning board, we could simply use the Class 2 position. I disagree with the assertion last week that the Class 2 person was similarly inappropriately appointed to that position. I think there is room in the language to suggest that that person could serve, the Environmental Commission could serve in that position. If the language, if there's some flexibility in the language, we could remove some of the conditions of that Class 2 to simplify the rules, just to say that it could be a member of a governing body, and strike out the rather convoluted language of the positioning of different liaisons to different boards. That seems to be copied from the state regulations, but the state seems to have similar flexibility in its language and doesn't, while the state this is pretty much copied from the state, but as it states here in the positive, the negative is not implied here, so that the negative of this description of a Class 2 member is not specifically stated out here, so I don't think it's necessarily implied that it is. So in sum, I disagree that there is a Class 4 opening, and I think there's a simple solution to providing representation from the Environmental Commission on the planning board by reappointing that person as a Class 2. And that's it.
Attorney Dash, could you address some of the issues identified by Councilman Chiarello?
Yes, well, so just to step back, the issue that's being discussed is that the current Class 4 member of the planning board, Mike Sylvester's term, who's purportedly ends at the end of this year, was appointed purportedly to the planning board in January of 2022. However, at that time, he was also serving on the zoning board. The plain language of the statute says that the Class 4 member of the planning board whose term concurrently has terminated on the zoning board shall terminate at that same time, which would have been at the end of 2022. At that time, by operational law and by operational statute, Mr. Sylvester no longer should have continued on as the Class 4 member of the planning board. And the minutes of the January 23 reorganization meeting also reflect discussion by the council and objection that there should be a member, a liaison to the planning board from the zoning board.
Thank you. Okay, we have
Just a comment too on our ordinance is based on our statute is based on the state statute. And as I look at the state statute, it does show flexibility. It says the membership shall consist of, for convenience in designating the manner of appointment, the 4 following classes. And it goes through Class 1, 2, 3, and 4. So looking at that, it does show that there is some flexibility, and this is guidance at the state level. If you look at 40 colon, was it 56-1, or actually 55D-23. talks about planning board membership.
That's for the appointment. The term says shall terminate for the Class 4 member in the state statute, Section 23, Class 4, shall terminate.
Yeah, but to Councilman Chiarello's point, though, we could have an easy fix and serve both purposes, right? And fill the open Class 2 spot by just modifying our township ordinance, right? And remove the restriction on the Class 2 configuration versus planning board, environmental commission, zoning board, board of ed.
I'm not sure I completely follow the,
Just one question, is that the definition of Class 2, that's taken from the municipal land use law, is that right?
correct.
And so generally, is a township able to pass some type of ordinance where they change what is set forth in the MLUL?
So the MLUL should be the guiding document, and so long as the ordinance is not in violation of the MLUL, it may stand. But in this case, we are interpreting a state statute requirement that the ordinance cannot supersede. It cannot supersede and render that ordinance contradictory to the township ordinance. In this case, the narrow issue that the council is considering is the term of a Class 4 planning board member, which Section 23 of the MLUL provides, shall terminate when that individual's term expires on the zoning board.
Thank you for that explanation. So we have a first and a second, and to appoint Rob Otto to the Class 4 on the planning board. And so all those in favor?
A roll call vote, please.
Okay, sure.
Councilman Scott,
Yes.
Councilman Blumetti,
Abstain. Too much information and questions still.
Councilman Chiarello,
I will also abstain.
Deputy
Actually,
Mayor-
I'm sorry. I misspoke. I would like to vote no.
you said no.
Correct.
Okay,
No.
thank you. Deputy Mayor Murphy,
Yes.
Mayor Clark,
Yes. And so the motion to appoint has 3 yeses, 1 abstention, and 1 no. And that is all the unfinished and new business I have. Councilman Chiarello, do you have any unfinished or new business?
I'd just like to make one comment under new business. Earlier today, we had an executive session. There was a topic that was discussed, which I cannot and will not reveal, but I want to mention that I was uncomfortable with the manner in which that topic was discussed, and so I left the room for that discussion. I would like the clerk to reflect in the minutes of the executive session that I left the room during that discussion. Thank you, and that's all.
None for me.
And for me.
Okay. So there's no more unfinished or new business. We are now at the final public comment period. So if anyone wishes to be heard, this is sort of a grab bag, as I always call it. So if you want to have a public comment, now's the time to do it.
Jenny Derricks, tap into Sparta. Mr. Zepp, I know you're waiting for me to ask a question. How are we doing with the brownfield?
We're actually doing
Happy
pretty.
New Year, by the way.
Right. We're doing well. We have a scheduled hearing of our proposal on February 15th in front of the DEP Wetlands Council. They will hear our proposal of the donation of 4 parcels equating to about 70 acres of open space from the town to be donated, giving us the ability to fill in 2.3 acres of wetlands up at our landfill. If this is approved by the Wetland Council, it will allow us to officially close the landfill. And then once we close the landfill, then they can reapply for the brownfield designation. They can then move ahead with installation of the solar panels, and the dominoes start falling down. But as we've said many times, the problem has been that wetland mitigation. but I think we're getting closer. We have a hearing date. There was a member of the Wetlands Council who drove up to visit the site. She got to look at the wetland area, and she also got a chance to see the 4 parcels. And I understand it was a very positive experience, and that she'll be going back to the council with a good review of our proposal.
Are the parcels, I did Oprah the lot and blocks of the parcels, are they contiguous?
No,
Okay. And are they in neighborhoods? Are they in,
I don't believe so.
okay,
No, a lot of them are landlocked.
okay. All right, I'll look forward to getting I know when you've been busy, when you get a minute with the Oprah request for the lots and blocks of the 4 parcels. Thank you.
No problem.
Any other public comment? No, I do, I have a reminder about it, I'll put it under unfinished or new business, that we did get a memorandum from our zoning board of adjustment with respect to an update on the kind of an annual report. Is that annual report going to be on a website that folks in the public can access?
I can do that.
Okay,
Sure.
got you. And I think it appears of the 19 applications that they received in 2024, all but one of them were approved. So I just letting the public know about that. And so with that, I have no other unfinished or new business. We have no further public comment. And so without further ado, I will make a motion to adjourn. So may I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
May I have a second, please?
I'll second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All right, motion carried. The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for
Thank
coming
you.
out to our